for the chance at playoffs, going to the global finals. It is just to stay in Grandmasters, to have another go at it next season. And it is very simple to explain overall. If you win one series, you're safe. That is it. So for our first players up, they would have to lose 3 in a row in order to be relegated out. And I will say, however, Gia, for Kin, he has been no stranger to losing streaks so far in the round robin.
Feels so bad to say it,
It
because
does.
you and I always just, get behind Kin, and I think it's true that he's been playing well. As far as our criticisms of him, it may be in the lineup and the bans, but that was quickly corrected later on, I think, when he just figured out that the Priest wasn't quite the best list, and then he was banning Warrior as well, and just bad beats. But we did finally see him take a win last week, the first in round robin, and hopefully he can keep that modicum of momentum up for this weekend. But that's also to say, I don't want Flurry to lose either, because he's just such a cool member of our Grandmaster system. He's one of the most game to do interviews. He's fun. He's got a great stream, a great following, and also a great player on his own right. Whew.
Yeah, I kind of just want a nice version of GM where everyone just gets to have a good time, and also everyone who wants to qualify could also get through. But sadly, this is a competition, and despite being gentle at heart, I need to toughen up. I need to take a leaf out of Possessi's book in terms of just sheer ruthlessness. As, of course, we do need to find out who can be going out so we can make room for the new players who will be coming through. You know, we have plenty of players who we would love to see move up into Asia Pacific Grandmasters. You and I, just the other day, were talking about Alan Numbers, who we both are huge fans of. We hope that he can find his way up, as well as many other very deserving APAC players. So to start things off with this series, Gia, it is going to be a much more standard double warrior ban with both Demon Hunters being brought this time.
That's true, and very similar classes, except for the fact that Flurry has Rogue, the first Rogue that we will be seeing this weekend. And the deck has had its ups and downs in APAC. It had one week where almost nobody brought it because it had such a disastrous previous week, being the reason that people were getting reverse swept. But now Flurry has decided to bring it in the Galakron Stealth version, the deck that has a little bit more early game punch and just curve minions, which could help it, supposedly, against the Druid matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I personally quite like this build of the Rogue that Flurry has been going for quite consistently. Granted, as Gia knows very well, I had a little bit of unfortunate luck, or an unfortunate series of draws in testing yesterday. I'm going to pretend that my saltiness was all in good fun and I was just putting on a show. Might have been a little bit too real there, but the point I'm trying to make here is that I find generally, even though there's very powerful things the secret version can do, it can also draw much more dead compared to the stealth version.
It's true, and the secrets just by nature are a lot more reactive. If your opponent is not even attacking in the early turns, suddenly the secrets are just spending your mana on air. Yeah. And particularly in the Druid matchup, I much prefer getting minions on curve to actually challenge the Glowfly board on the turn it comes down. But that's only for that particular matchup. I'm curious to see how that stealth version of the Rogue lines up against Kin's Hunter, for example, where I feel that going 1-1 with a minion on curve might not go in favor of Rogue.
Maybe not, but we've seen Rogue can do some incredibly powerful things. There's also some weird builds of Rogue starting to creep back into the metagame. We're, of course, seeing the questing adventurer versions become a lot more popular for most players, whereas Flurry has put that by the wayside. I think we're even seeing whisperings of Beaming Sidekick in Rogue in order to kind of buff up the questing explorers that little bit more, or the questing adventurers, I should say, sorry. Still not guaranteed that we're going to be seeing that's pretty cutting edge tech, I think it's fair to say. But for the most part here for Flurry, the Rogue is just kind of trying to do the standard thing, as we are going to get it, seeing it here. Primarily getting down a big Edwin at the start of the game, as we could see right now.
Oh my gosh, what an opener for Flurry. This is just the dream.
That's a full keep, right? That's insane.
An insta full keep. Especially versus Demon Hunter. My gosh.
Yeah, Praise Galakron is one of those weird cards that you sometimes feel like, should I keep it? It doesn't do that much in the early game, just giving +1 attack, but it is consistently up at the top in terms of mulligan win rates.
Yep. For Kin, he had a pretty good opener as well with the double 1-drops. The follow-up isn't great, but the big kicker is, I don't know how he's getting through a huge Edwin next turn.
I mean, there's not many ways in Demon Hunter's arsenal to get through that, I will admit. Oh man, even the Spy Mistress being unable to be interacted with means
Yeah.
the backstab can come down perfectly while he's still developing. Spy Mistress is such an insane card versus Demon Hunter.
Just in general,
Yeah.
power creep on Worgen Infiltrator, and we've seen players just play Worgen Infiltrator in their decks. Just goes to show how great this card is. But here we go, a 6/6 available if he wants it. And he does.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that there's, there are ways it can die here with very specific draws. Twin Slice I-Beam is technically a clear here, so he could have waited an extra turn. But I mean, the curve is just so beautiful here with Grey Heart Sage coming out afterwards as well.
A welcome draw for Kin to be able to at least stave off the Edwin for now, but the Shadow Weaver lines up so poorly against the Spy Mistress. Feels bad, man.
Very nicely done, not attacking through there from Flurry in order to both activate the Greyheart Sage and also having better plays against either the Satyr Overseer or the Freeze.
That's pretty good because it unlocks the I-Beam if he wants to cash in both of them. It's so expensive though because he has the... Yeah, I don't think you go for it, right? You just do it this way, save the other one for the Glaive Bound. Okay, very measured.
This is much better. You have to activate the Glaive Bound, I feel like, next turn.
Completely agree.
Oh, it's not even like there's any slowing down here for Flurry. He's gone from one of the best possible early game hands to one of the best possible mid game hands. These are all premium cards.
Yeah. Say that again.
These are all premium mid game cards.
Okay, don't say it a third time. Pharaoh Cats, while it's strange, right, to say it's premium in the mid game, but the fact that it operates as not just a 1-drop, but potentially a 4-drop or a 3-drop alongside the cheaper Reborn minions made it pretty insane here. But Flurry has gotten some of the more expensive results.
Yeah, I love seeing the Witchy Lackey be played out here. Whether or not you Shadow Step it, I think is a little bit more up for debate, of course, because you have the Seal Fate ready to come down next turn to get you that extra Lackey for Togwaggle. But in the end, he's Shadow Stepping it not to save it for Togwaggle, but instead it seems for extra value to get a better 3-drop.
Wow!
Whoa!
That's a premium result! What the heck? Raven was just talking about how good Overconfident Orc is against Demon Hunter, or even in Demon Hunter potentially, if you don't want to play the Blowtorch.
Oh, I wasn't listening.
But this is a great draw for Kin. It at least helps him remove vast majority of Flurry's threats, and Rogue, of course, is not running as much burst as in the days of Blue. So I think Kin is happy to just play a little bit risky with his health pool.
Does manage to get the full clear, which is now annoying for sure for Flurry. He is not guaranteed to be able to hit Togwaggle on the following turn anymore, or even possible.
I don't think Flurry necessarily expected that Kin would have such an efficient answer.
Yeah.
Or if he did, Flurry was hoping to draw his Eviscerates, of which there are 2 in the deck, to finish off the damage. But now Kin has a window to come back into this.
Yeah, he does. It's going to have to be a pretty powerful couple of turns here. Obviously, Skull of Gul'dan can enable that, but Seal of Fate here, either the one in hand or off the top if you want, sets up for Togwaggle next turn. It's a very powerful play right now. Just a lot of good stuff.
Seal of Fate gamer. Ugh.
Oh, Seal Fate. Sorry. It's a terrible habit.
Well, I don't see any reason to be playing a 1-1 for tempo, so it's going to be Swing and Redagger for Flurry here. Kin has got to get an insane result from this Skull to try and race what's going to be a wand in 2 turns. Surely he's not thinking of playing it for tempo, right?
I would be extremely surprised to see that. I mean, it's not guaranteed that you go for Togwaggle next turn, but you leave yourself the option, right?
Right, it's huge. Okay, great draws for Kin.
Really good draws for Kin, actually. This is both a powerful board in terms of offense and also in terms of resilience as well.
Yeah, especially since he can buff up his Satyr Overseer. He's seen one Seal Fate used and a backstab. And now Flurry's gotta be worried. He can't go for a Tog now, right? It's just too much damage on board.
How much damage is he looking at right now? There's 8, 9.
11 with just hero power, including the buff. Okay, maybe he can go for Tog, just because all the alternatives look bad.
Right, exactly. Like, if he goes for the the Shield of Galakron, I feel like he's just going to be in the same situation again next turn. Whereas he needs to draw to Galakron, Eviscerates, Kronks, something more powerful like that to actually make a push to win the game.
Yeah. Hit the nail on the head. He needs more mana cheat to swing back. To match the mana cheat from the skull.
Many options.
However, though, I think if he does go for it, he may just be dead on the backswing because of Warglaves of Azimuth buffing up the the Hound so many times.
Just attack min, then attack face.
Right, but then Kin on the other side can't attack into Togwaggle twice, or he'll just die. So you need to be afraid of that as well.
Oh.
It gets really complicated.
Oh,
He's just playing the shield.
I don't know how this gets there for Flurry on the following turn. If Kin just deals with this board, even if Flurry top decks Eviscerate, not enough damage, right?
So he can tank it once and then I-beam.
I grow impatient.
Which means he'd be down to 6 health, so he's not dying to an Eviscerate.
I feel like tanking it is bait here. Just
Really?
I-beam and trade away a 2-2, right?
He makes less guys though, right? And buffs its attack less.
How much damage does he still manage to get through? Yeah, it doesn't set up 2-turn lethal unless he does tank it, right? Oh, it's so close.
I mean, he survives in a Vis, right? A single Eviscerate does not kill him. Obviously, Rush Lackey, Kobold Lackey, even Ethereal Lackey potentially would kill him then.
There are 2 unaccounted for lackeys.
Yeah.
It's so scary. And of course, the possibility of double Evis. We see Kin taking the more cautious approach and just believing in his top decks, which, to be fair, is a reasonable thing to do as Demon Hunter.
Yeah. Huge amounts of damage coming through here.
I mean, of course, this does set up the 2-turn. We were talking about the the tanking it doesn't set up 2-turn in the case that Flurry manages to clear this whole board, but it's worth noting he couldn't deal with it last turn.
Yeah,
probably not dealing with it this turn.
I guess this is just more safe.
Looks like GG to me.
Yeah, I mean, outside of like Galakron into Kronks, this looked like pretty much no outs here for Flurry.
Right. So he has one more draw to get it. I completely agree. That's the only out. Gala into Kronks, and it is not there.
Shield into Spell Lackey into...
What about Witchy into Faceless into Evolve into a Taunt? Or too many intos that I like.
I think the thing is, with the weapon up, even if you get a taunt, there's just nothing doing here.
Wow!
Impressive, but not enough in the end. And after all of that, Gia, I am kind of staggered that Flurry did not take that game. He had one of the best starting hands it's possible to have. Great follow-up with the Togwaggle there, and I can't help but feel like whether he went for the play of stepping the Witchy Lackey back and holding it in hand, or going for the Togwaggle turn on turn 7 when he had the opportunity, one of those plays had to happen for him to have a chance of taking the win.
Completely agreed. I think the first one was optimal, but after he had seen that that wasn't any longer possible, I also agree that Flurry had to think bigger. If you just play one minion when Demon Hunter is playing 3 in a turn or equipping a weapon that deals with 1 minion immediately and goes face after all that, it just doesn't get there. And Demon Hunter from Kin, very well played. That was an amazing skull outcome, but also he just managed to make the most of a pretty poor start against Flurry's great hand. So now Kin has got that Demon Hunter out of the way.
Yeah, that classic, very indicative play from Kin, of very level-headed, strong play overall, which brings him up 1-0 in a unexpected but very powerful win with the Demon Hunter up against the Rogue. But before we can continue with Demon Hunter up against Druid, with Flurry, of course, playing his Demon Hunter this time, we are going to go to an ever so quick break in our final series of the day here for APAC. You're not going to want to miss it, because the loser is that little bit closer towards relegation out of Grandmasters. We'll see you after this. Thank you for joining us once again here for Hearthstone Grandmasters on YouTube, the heart of Hearthstone Esports for this year. So make sure here on the Hearthstone Esports YouTube channel to smash that subscribe button to be notified whenever we go live. This is, of course, the final week of Grandmasters for this week, but we have Master Tour Yongchping coming up next weekend, and of course later on in the year, Hearthstone Grandmasters Season 2 as well. But before all of that, Gia, we have to find out who is going to be that one step closer towards relegating out, who will not be joining us for next season of Grandmasters, and it could potentially still be Flurry or Kin.
Derek, I think we need to find a new wording for this. Why would you say one step closer towards relegation? I know I've been guilty of using that phrasing as well, but it just feels so bad to say that the more you lose, the closer you get to relegating instead of playing for a prize.
Tension.
All right, okay. So who's going to get one step closer to not coming back ever again? Who is going to drop the series? Oh my god, it's terrible. It's actually terrible.
Now you're getting it.
So far, Kin has managed to win with his Demon Hunter, and Flurry, I don't feel will be too upset about that, because as far as the lineups are stacked, I think Flurry's got a good shot with his own Demon Hunter, and then we get to see whether that Rogue can take a win versus Kin's Druid and Hunter, 2 matchups that I think would be difficult for Rogue to match up against.
Well, I like that. We actually just got a message from our producer who's saying the players aren't creeping closer towards relegation. Relegation is creeping closer to the players.
Got it. Perfect.
You just got to change the frame of how it's all phrased. It's not about how you say it. Yeah, exactly. But like you said, with the remaining decks now for Kin, it's looking overall pretty good because I would say the Rogue is really going to struggle against the Druid and could still, to a lesser extent, struggle against the Hunter as well. But one deck that absolutely does not struggle against Druid, Gia, is the Demon Hunter. Very much expected to take a win.
True enough, and Flurry's got a pretty great start. 2 1-drops, and of course, being able to buff the Battle Mage health out of range of just a Wrath or a Bog Beam is very useful to get that pressure rolling.
And he's got a great hand to get that pressure rolling with all of these 1-drops to get at the start. Absolutely fantastic. Even the Volpera Scoundrel, it's not especially well statted, obviously, but just being able to get yourself a little bit of extra card draw, maybe a Chaos Strike, maybe a Metamorphosis for more damage as well, can be very powerful.
Hey, I got you,
Yes,
friend.
indeed. For Kin, he has managed to at least hit a card draw card into Wild Growth. Not the worst of starts, but would have preferred to have that Fungal a bit earlier. Still gonna be okay going into the next turn, though.
Yeah, not bad at all. He's obviously not ramping up to a Glowfly, but that is what Flurry needs to prepare for most of all. As
Oh,
he could actually play around Glowfly this turn
yeah.
with Coin Mana Burn.
I mean, of course I was looking at Metamorphosis
Right,
first
right.
because watermelons, but you bring up a very good point. Even aside from just Glowfly this turn, if Flurry feels like he has a better play for the follow-up, he can save it for a Mount Seller turn. There are very key, distinct, and predictable points when the Druid starts to go off, and he could easily disrupt those. This is so curious. Does he go for
Really
it
is.
now? Not sure how strong of a read he could have had on Glowfly.
I think I like holding it back here, because the thing is, even if there is a Glowfly here, he has a pretty good board to answer a Glowfly, all things considered. You know, he can
Yeah,
take
it
out
would've-
4 of them very easily.
Would have only been 5 at the maximum.
Yeah.
From Flurry's perspective, that Ysera is likely to be a spell.
I like this play from Flurry. I think whether or not you pick the Mana Burn at all is still debatable, but holding it I really like.
Huge draw as well. I was gonna say
Huge
for
draw.
Kin was not so worrisome because Flurry didn't pick up on any of his snowballing cards, either
Yep.
the Battle Fiend or the Satyr Overseer, but it's there now. It's gonna be tough for Kin to just ramp up towards Ysera without responding.
Yeah, I mean, it's awkward here for Flurry, right? Because he wants to play the I-Beam in order to get down the Coin Skull, but if he coins it out, it doesn't quite work, so you just hold
Yeah.
back here for the moment. But it's not that bad. He can just play out the Mana Burn next turn after he inevitably sees an Overgrowth here. He knows, all right, they've Overgrowthed up to 9 mana. Something strong has to be coming down.
But it's so rough for Kin that he's not hit removal spells
Yeah.
beyond a Moonfire. Still has to face tank this 4 damage. He's hoping he can turn the corner on the following turn. Kin's list, of course, still running the one of Wrath.
Whoa. Top deck into top deck. Unbelievable for Flurry. Being able to beautifully fill out his mana and very cleanly represent lethal next turn.
Yeah. Point out the mana burn.
I
Lock
love it.
out a Ysera. Or even if it's a Mount Seller, there's less you can fit in with the turn.
The perfect turn to go for it. He's clearly just making a pretty all-in push here by denying himself I-Beam Coin Skull next turn. But this is the turn he's going to pull things back.
Kin is just gonna pray for a miracle off of this overflow. Can get crystal power
Right.
or another
I can see.
innervate out of the way. Not good enough.
My hand is too
Kin getting all the ramp in the world, but none of it is enough to fight back against Flurry's onslaught. And with the real decision there for Flurry being the Mana Burn, how amazingly did that work out for him?
It was perfect. I think you hit the nail on the head each and every turn he had the consideration. Right from the bat, right off the bat of picking it in the first place when he had the option for Metamorphosis, Flurry realized that he could just win with the board that he had. The way that he was losing was to a big Mount Seller blowout or a Ysera stopping him. He didn't have the Warglaves in hand the turn he picked the mana burn, and so he had to find a way to play around a taunt from Kin, and he found the perfect opportunity to go for it. I think that was very clean from Flurry.
Yeah, I mean, we're still not quite sure if it was actually Flurry's genius or the mouse on the back of his chair kind of giving him, whispering in his ear what the correct play was along the way. But yes, it was very nicely done there by Flurry. And it means now, with both Demon Hunters out the way, this is what we've come to expect, yeah, over and over again. It's just an expected win for both of these decks. But now, Rogue has been up against Demon Hunter. A decent matchup, but it ended up losing. Now the Rogue for Flurry is up against the Druid, which maybe it's not as disastrous over a big sample size from what we've seen, but I gotta say, I would much, much rather be on Kin's side in this matchup.
Completely agreed. Rogue has limited ways to deal with Glowfly, to say the least. And even after that, if they manage to stay on board, they don't have that amazing pressure that Race's Druid, that Demon Hunter or Hunter might have. And so the Druid would have time to draw into their second wave, the Mount Seller, the Ysera. And Rogue just seems to be on the back foot.
And it's definitely looking like it's going to shape up that way for Kin at the moment. Flurry is left with a hand that can do stuff, for sure. You know, it could be stepping the Mistress next turn just to activate the Miscreant. But that is so slow in comparison to what Kin can throw down, especially if he finds a bait. Okay, good draw.
Yeah, could go for the Seal Fate and also just unveil his Mistress because he can combo out the Miscreant with Lackey generated.
Make the turn awkward for your opponent. If they want to go coin into Overgrowth, they're going to have to tank another 3 on this turn.
We could see from Kin just develop an Eagle here.
Yeah, he would still get the full suite.
Or you could draw and just use the Crystal Power to dump instead.
I mean, I guess you're going to be filling up the board to full capacity next turn anyway, so it makes sense. Okay, Restless Mummy is a good outcome for sure, in order to fight back against a few Glowflies.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Job's done.
As far as the rest of the turn is concerned, it's probably evolving the Miscreant after it takes a value trade.
Agreed, and then possibly stepping the Witchy as well to go Witchy Togwaggle.
I like that. I think, just like with the Demon Hunter game, Flurry needs something better than his cards on curve. He needs to cheat out some mana, do the same powerful things that other classes are doing.
Agreed, and especially... okay, not great, but especially because Galakrond has only been invoked once. Kronk's on curve I don't think is quite strong enough, and you instead need to try and get very fortunate off the Togwaggle to wrestle this one back.
I mean, from Flurry's perspective, a lot of different things need to go right here.
Yeah.
He needs to get the Tog down safely, and that means that Kin can't have too many payoff cards right here. It's wishful thinking for Flurry, but I do think that's his only line that maybe wins 10% of the time as opposed to 0.
Wow! Flurry is a tempo witchy gamer. This is twice now that we have seen him thrown it out, when I think both of us would have agreed that you're supposed to hold it back. Again, disastrous outcome. That should not be factored in to whether or not this was a good play or not. But I am hesitant to say that I think this will work out. Now we're looking at Kronk's into Togwaggle, into the spell a turn later, and I think he's just on average dead by then.
You could be thinking that instead of the turn 6 being Tog into turn 7 Wand and Prey, he's going for Kronk's turn 6 into Galakrond and Prey on turn 7.
Fair.
Okay, this allows for some deviation now. It's picked up a way to deal with another layer of Glowfly, or at least one Glowfly and the Death Rattle.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, I think you're just starting with the Faceless here, because then you can Abyss if you need to, or you can Witchy Lackey.
Correct. Okay, that's a way for Kin to use his mana this turn at least.
Yeah, not bad at all.
You can just play Iron Barks for free here. Love
Summon
the
a
development.
minion.
Yeah. Clearing out every player on Faceless Corruptor, just setting up for a big overflow on the follow-up, but now Flurry is able.
Oh.
So iconic. Of course we can't end a weekend of playoffs without Flurry picking a Deathwing.
Exactly, Gia. There is no more iconic duo. He's picked it like 3 times, I think, in a weekend we saw from him earlier on in GM, and now it comes back yet again. And honestly, it could just be insane versus Druid.
Could be, but Kin is drawing. He's got the Ysera online. He's got the Mount Seller for next turn. I don't think Flurry's making it to turn 10 unless this one is stellar. Instead of a deck win rate, can we get a Flurry picking Deathwing rate? For the next graphic, this turn is insane. Oh my gosh.
We can, Gia, but right now we need to focus on this Galakrond for 0 mana. If we wanted a comeback for Flurry, this is it. Finally, the power of Togwaggle. Do you now see Flurry?
Oh yes, he does. And on top of that, he has Lackey Faceless. He has Edwin.
Oh, this is so powerful. Druid's just outright. What do they have against this?
They have Stall against Edwin. It's very relevant.
Yeah.
He has one more Iron Bark to use for taunts, but this is, of course, probably the most powerful swing that Flurry could have had.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not even certain that this ordering was correct. I think he could have found a way to go, like, praise Galakrond on one of the opposing minions, and then upgraded a witchy, one of the Corruptors with a Witchy Lackey, but either way, doesn't really matter all too much. The point is he gets down an absolutely stonking huge Edwin here, and there is nothing that Kin can do to answer this.
Not the Edwin at least, but he has a Mount Seller, a bunch of generations, and one draw to find a Crystal Power for these 5/2s. We're looking for Griffins, we're looking for Zixors, we're looking for taunts.
We're not looking for that.
Definitely not. And of course, Flurry just has this Kronks.
And,
Oh!
that's
Lethal?
gotta be game,
Gotta
right?
be. Yeah, 100%.
How much damage is this? Oh yeah, way over lethal here. And Flurry with the Rogue. The matchup we didn't expect it to take it. And with the line that we weren't necessarily on board with, but I'm starting to see how it worked out for him now.
I mean, I still struggle to say that was the right line from Flurry, because had there been a Savage Roar at any point in, I feel that he needed to take the window earlier to go for the Togwaggle. It's tough to say, but obviously from the point that Flurry did manage to get the Togwaggle done, I have no questions whatsoever. Even if you had that little qualm with the optimization, I think it's just good show from Flurry that we saw him complete the turn and not rope out, as we've seen many players do on Rogue, myself included, just last night.
Yeah, again, I mean, even then, I was like, I hadn't fully realized the plan in my mind. I was just like, I think there's a way you can eviscerate it and tank an extra 4 damage for the benefit of getting a 6-drop. But it really doesn't matter. An 18-18 Edwin has traditionally been, or any sized Edwin really, has been the absolute bane of Druid. And at the end of all of that, it means that Flurry is only 1 game away from absolutely saving himself and heading through to the next season of Grandmasters, where he can try again to get himself a spot in the global finals. But for Kin, after a disastrous streak here, where he went 1-6 overall through the round robin. It's looking like it might be another loss for him, unless he can turn things around right now.
And whether that will be is first determined by the result of this Highlander Hunter mirror, a matchup that, despite it being between two curved decks, is pretty nuanced, I would say. A lot of the tough decisions revolving around your timing of Dino Tamer Brand and playing around that. I feel that the mirrors in this meta are largely about disrupting your opponent as much as they are playing to your own game plan.
So
Outside of the Druid mirrors.
Presented with, in my opinion, one of the best cards in the deck, but also a very good card in the matchup in Desert Spear. But given that he already has the Stormhammer in hand, instead he opts to go with the Scale Rider, which, if he is able to find a dragon, is a very good card.
Desert Spear is, of course, amazing, as you said, to pair with Faceless Corruptors, but I think Kin is rightfully playing for the here and now. No dragon for Flurry.
Yep. He says I'd rather have a 2-1 on board than nothing on board.
Sure.
And it makes sense.
Zixor gets eaten by the other Zixor. A true mirror.
Yeah, it's very much going tit for tat at the start, and now Dragonbane, you never really want to play it without just getting the hero power down, and Stormhammer does save him from having to go for that.
I like the look of that, but Flurry's following turns are very much dependent on drawing a dragon. Soon it would unlock the Scale Rider and allow him to swing for extra charges with the Stormhammer.
The other really big consideration in the matchup I often find is Rotnest Drake, and going for the Dragonbane here is the turn before Rotnest can come down, whereas if he goes Stormhammer here and then Dragonbane, say, on turn 5, he would then be significantly weaker to that play.
It's true. This is also just asking Kin to have an answer for this 3 damage. If it's going to be Stormhammer, at least for Flurry, it's off curve for Kin. Same story with Corrupted Breath, Corrosive Breath. And Kin also didn't have a dragon of his own, so it's forcing one charge out. Okay.
Yep, very, very nice pickup. Flurry's still waiting for that dragon to activate his hand, which at the moment is just not doing much of anything.
Kin's looking for the Diving Griffin off of the Scavenger's Ingenuity, but it's unlikely because there's also Zixor.
And does in the end go with the freeze on the minion. More likely, or more often I should say, the correct play, but a little bit unfortunate.
Only forbidden in the Team and Hunter mirror.
Quite legal in this matchup. And while it does feel like Kin has had the ever so slight upper hand in the back and forth here, getting down the the nicer Stormhammer, for the moment at least, it looks like the Dino Tamer brand for Flurry could be the difference maker.
And Kin will be very cognizant of that possibility. I completely expect to see the Bone Wraith come down this turn, and with the draw of Diving Griffin, I believe the Scavenger's Ingenuity guarantees 6/6 Zixor Prime for Kin.
That's pretty nuts.
Uh-huh. No Escape Mana Savers making their way into this list. No Phase Stalker, long phased out of the Highlander Hunter list. So Kin just needs to take a slow turn, face tank a bit of damage, set up for a huge swing. Okay. So he's saying if there's Bran, he can still answer with the fact that he has Faceless Corruptor.
Right, but at the same time, this does mean that he has to tank all of the damage here, whereas Bone Wraith could have been used to guarantee that the 8 has to trade on that turn.
However, looking back on it, that would have left Kin with a board state where, yes, he doesn't take the 8 immediately, but he couldn't guaranteed answer the King Crush.
Yeah.
Oh, he could have with 1 drop and Faceless, but man, it's tough to think about.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't
iterations.
have had the Faceless in hand, right? Because he wouldn't have played the Griffin on the previous turn.
Right. So I think this is actually very heads up from Kin.
Again, no dragon. Yet to activate these dragon cards for Flurry, I guess the Rottennest is itself a dragon. But not quite what he needs right now. Instead, we're probably looking at Faceless Corruptor on this turn.
Yeah, Flurry's gonna try his best to set up a board for lethal because he's not drawn any burst for himself. But Kin can easily swing this back with that Zixor. It's the juiciest Zixor I've seen in a while.
Eight mana, 24/24 of stats.
Oh my god.
And
With Rush, of course.
oh my god. If Flurry can't find lethal on this turn, or Zephyrus, I suppose, to clear off this board, he's just dead. He's really dead.
It is just Zephyrus that's his out here, I think.
Yep, Dynatamer Bran obviously gone. I mean, Dragon Queen Alexstrasza could give an out, obviously, as well.
That is not it. Even if he big ol' loves to get Zephyrus, there's not enough mana to find Frost Nova.
Yeah. Oh!
Oh, it was one card short!
Wait.
No.
Betrayal keeps him alive, right?
Oh, yeah. That's great. Yeah, great recognition. Just leaves a 6-2? Two 6-2s on the board.
Yes.
You take it if you're Flurry. I'm not sure what his out is for the following turn, but of course just needs to play for the immediate. Kin has a Dragon Queen of his own if he doesn't just top deck lethal here. It's
Could
only
be
lethal if it's Huffer.
Right.
Just take the Dragon Queen here every day.
Whoa!
Oh my gosh.
Alright, you take that. You clear the board.
So this Ysera notably deactivates Kin's own Zephyrus.
Good point. Yep.
Thank you, Maverick. But there's just no answer for Flurry for the current board having used Zephyrus already. Man, that was close.
Even then. Oh, if only the Rottennest was active, he could have got down some clear to stay alive, but that was just lethal representative.
And it all leads back to Kin's decision to go for the Diving Griffin over the Bone Wraith there. I found it weird at first, but it really does make sense at the end because the board state was 2 minions that he wanted to trade down. And had he just gone for Bone Wraith, then Kin could have cleared the board entirely on Kin's side by using the Dino trade and the Stormhammer, at which point Kin would have had to have dealt with an 8/6 King Crush, which is still really difficult without having a Faceless in hand. So Kin spotted that he could just face tank damage on that one scary turn and then swing back, leading up into his Zixor for the game towards the end. It was really well played.
Just imagine now, Gia, for Kin, despite a disastrous run through the round robin, nothing seeming to go his way, this final game could make none of that matter. He will be safe coming back through to another season of Grandmasters here. He just needs to win with this Druid up against the Hunter. It has now lost twice against the Demon Hunter and the Rogue for Kin, and if he doesn't win here, it will be a full sweep on the Druid.
Oh, yes, indeed. I'm so glad that they're both on 2 games now, so we can use the wording of 1 game away from being safe versus any other negative connotation. But Kin has got at least a little bit of ramp here, but to me, this matchup is heavily dependent on sticking a Glowfly early. And oh my gosh, Flurry's curve. Nutty.
Yep, pretty close to just the absolute dream here. I wonder if you're even going Coin Felmore instead of the Blazing Battle Mage, just because of how insane that is when played on turn 1 versus Druid.
Yeah, I like it, especially since he's got a 2-drop to follow up.
Right.
Ulvir into the Companion. Wow. He's got his work cut out for him. The hand, as it stands, is not looking good enough. I have to say, I'm not sure about keeping Wild Growth, but with that top deck, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point, right? You'd much rather hit Fungal Fortunes or Glowfly Swarm in the starting hand, because that is the way that you beat Hunter the majority of the time.
It's particularly just the ripple effect of fungal. When you draw that, it comes down on a turn where you're not really removing anything or developing anything,
Yeah.
and you're more likely to draw back into the wild growth or overgrowth, or innervate with the glowfly swarm. Well, Flurry's gonna get his 5-4 active now. Animal companion.
Oh my god.
All the results are fine here for Flurry, I think.
Yeah, you're happy with literally anything. Okay, so the one other question is, you could forego the animal companion here. Very nice huffer there. In order to load up on 1-drop so that you can more effectively answer a glowfly swarm next turn.
It's getting to the point where he's just not answering.
Yeah.
Or he could answer 1 with a desert spear. But every single day of the week, Huffer and the Felma are going face.
Oh yes.
So Flurry is thinking about damage breakpoints. He's thinking about Kin's best possible follow-up, which is power plus roar or double roar.
Yeah.
With a taunt on board, I think he just survives against both of those.
Yeah, I mean, he's never dying, I think, on the following turn. It's really just about how effectively Kin can get value trades against his board.
Correct.
Which means he... I mean, there is argument to trade the Felmore, because then you're not just dying to 1 minion off of a Savage Roar. But in the end, I agree with your analysis. You want to go face and try and win the game as soon as possible, not even trading the injured Tolvir.
And that's a direct effect also, I think, of having that taunt minion, that stealth minion for a guaranteed 2 extra damage. The Worgen Infiltrator is also a tech that Flurry's been playing around with in this list where other players might be putting in Guardian Og Merchant instead.
I wonder...
Oh, it's so awkward for Kin.
He can go Glowfly, Innovate, Power of the Wild, which allows for a full clear on everything that he can clear.
Yes, yeah. I was just trying to figure out if there was a better order, but it was very tricky because he would have to have traded 2 minions for it to matter, but the max extra he could have gained was 1 from an earlier Glowfly, so it works out.
I mean, if he's going for the Iron Bark, then it was definitely the wrong order, right? Because he could have then traded away.
Right, I was assuming Power of the Wild. But...
Yeah, me too. And I think he was, to be perfectly honest. Whereas with this line, I think there was a way he could have got himself at least 1 more Glowfly. Actually, no, because he wouldn't have had enough cards in hand. Yeah, so it's the same either way.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Flurry is a little bit short now.
Ever so close. He can obviously get Dwarven Sharpshooter, plus the 1 damage from the Spear. But that's damage that isn't going face.
I think he wants to just get down the A-Wing this turn.
Really?
The hero power going face doesn't develop much, right? Oh, wait, what are you looking at?
I don't know. I have no suggestion, Gia. I just hate everything. Like Stormhammer to override it and then hero power and go face and pray they don't have overflow? Right? Isn't that your best chance of winning?
Yeah, the problem with the Fey-Wing is it just dies on board as well.
Right,
What's
exactly.
Left. Okay. Yeah, I can get behind it. Or he's gonna get the bad news, though.
Even then, it's so close. He's only at 10 life. That's not safe.
It really isn't. We're looking at Zephyrus outs. We're looking at... Kill Command wouldn't get there without a beast on board.
Right. No Innovate. No Taunt.
I mean, from Flurry's perspective, he might not be dead on the follow-up against just 3 minions, so maybe he has 2 turns to get there, but we see Kin has this crystal power to heal up further.
Okay, Rotnest Drake, probably the best minion, sure.
Or he's gonna start committing some damage. Oh, we saw it
Is
points.
he though?
Okay, other healing options are just the other overflow and both crystal power. It's just that the hand as it stands for Flurry, it doesn't get there against just hero power from Druid if the board is cleared, is the
Yeah.
thing. This is so rough.
But maybe his best chance is to play to his top decks to just take the game. He's slowly losing
Okay.
control of this match.
So if he shoots a minion here, he's still looking at Zephyrus Lethal with Lava Burst. But he gives up. My brain can't be wrapped around it.
I know.
There's just healing.
Okay, it's a Mount Celagon. That's a very good outcome for Flurry, of course, but it's just not the most pressing thing. The fact that Kin can stay alive is just the most important outcome.
It's huge, absolutely huge. Now Kin heals back up to 12, essentially at 7 if you just look at the Stormhammer and the hero power from Hunter. So he's now thinking about, can he play around Unleash the Hounds effectively here? How wide does he have the license to go?
I mean, I imagine he's gearing up for 1 Panther, 1 buff.
Like that.
And then, of course, trading. Doesn't mean he can't fit in the hero power, which he would like to do, just to have that little bit of extra assurance.
You could just go Bog Beam hero power, but he's missing out on 2 damage in the immediate.
Yeah, I mean, the important thing is that even if he misses the hero power, he's not dead to Dino Tamer Bran. And the Blazing Battle Mage, for example, has been in hand since the start of the game. And I think he will be starting to have the read that it is Dino Tamer Bran, which comes off the top anyway.
Oh my god.
And it's 1 damage off.
Then we see that Kin went for another Panther there, just trying to put together a Savage Roar for lethal, but Flurry has been picking apart just 1 or 2 minions every turn, making sure it's not a possibility. And now we're faced with the same problem. Roar here is lethal, right?
8 damage on board, 8 with the Savage Roar, 1. It's 17 damage with 1 Savage Roar. Both copies of Power of the Wild have been played, so it's only double Savage Roar that Flurry dies to.
So if he kills a minion here, say the 2/2, is he dead to double Savage Roar?
It'd be down to 16, and it would be 6 and 6. He would be dead to double Savage Roar either way.
So that means he just ships it base?
Maybe the Iron Bark changed things.
Perhaps. Oh my gosh, Kin has another set of draws to look for it. There is the Roar!
12 plus the 6. That is lethal.
Even a Moonfire if he wasn't sure. Just double checking, triple checking, making sure there's no room for error. Kin has the game unlocked, and my gosh, that's a heartbreaker for Flurry. Oh, you can see how much it means to him.
Gia, he was so close. Think of all the micro decisions that could have been changed that maybe made a difference. The times he traded into minions instead of going face. The time he went face instead of trading into minions. Playing out the Dwarven Sharpshooter instead of playing out the Blazing Battle Mage. All of these minute differences could have been the difference between winning and losing, between staying in and being relegated.
All of those thoughts are going through Flurry's head right now, because even though he was going into the relegation bracket alongside Kin with the best shot of staying in Grandmasters because he has 3 lives, this is one of the worst feelings to have, where he can't even have another series today to continue and try and redeem himself. He has to wait till tomorrow and sit and sleep on this loss. It's just so tough to think about. But on the flip side, congratulations to Kin. He is safe and guaranteed back for another season, which means both of our new GMs, Kin and Possessi, will be staying on.
That's right, and taking a look at the relegation bracket now, we can see what Flurry has in store for him tomorrow. As with a tiebreaker match that was played off-stream between Dawn and Frosty, Frosty did lose that match, which means he only has 1 chance. However, Dawn, in our match against Flurry tomorrow, both of these players still have 2 chances at taking a win. But I mean, I can just imagine being in Flurry's position here, Gia. You start to think that you've got a curse on you. You know that you are going to end up losing both of these matches. And as soon as you start believing that, be it through, fate of the cards or through your own defeatist mindset getting to you, either can get you then.
On top of that, Derek, just looking at this bracket, I feel like I'm gonna cry. It's Flurry versus Dawn.
I know.
These are two teammates, the best of friends. In that interview where they were asked who they'd be handcuffed to for a month, they picked each other. These two have been OGs since the start of Hearthstone. They were there at the beginning of the Korean scene. They have huge streams. They're on a great team, Cloud9, best of friends, and now they have to fight each other to stay alive in Grandmasters. I can't watch.
Yeah, very, very tense stuff. And it's also in addition to already saying goodbye to Staz and Samuel Sao, which in its own right was very upsetting stuff. But as I keep saying, the bright side is, even though we have brother fighting against brother here with Flurry and Dawn, as you said, being C9 teammates, it does make room for the new players to come into the system. And next season in Grandmasters Gia, I cannot wait to see who is going to be filling in their spots for them. But for now, that does, of course, mean that we are all done with today. So let's take a look at the action that we had over the course of today with the bracket for Division A, or for Group A, I should say, sorry, with our two players who made it through in Glory and Possessi.
That's right. Glory started off with a bye due to his dominant performance in the round robin, which he started in Division A because of his dominant performance in the Swiss. And yet again, Glory is just untouchable straight through to the semifinals by taking one series 3-0 versus Rivius. Impressive stuff. But over at the lower bracket, Possessi managed to fight his way through despite losing a series versus Rivius at the beginning. Fought his way back and is cementing Japan's dominance in Asia Pacific.
And if we can take a look at Group B that we're going to be playing at tomorrow, we could still see, Gia, every single Japanese player going through to the semi-finals, and that is the most likely outcome, with Alutemu being the second place holder in Division A. He is, of course, given a bye against Tom60229, who managed to claw his way through from Division B. Alutemu just has to win a single series, and he will be joining the other two Japanese players. It would just be unbelievable to have 3 out of the 4 representatives in the semi-finals be Japanese.
It really, really would. But Surrender, Chonsu, and Tom are not going to go down without a fight. Tom is, surprising that he ended up in Division B to begin with. But ever since that round robin started, he's proving that he's still got the chops, still world championship quality. Even though we have been up and down on his style of play, I think he does have that mental state, calm advantage over most of the rest of the field. And of course, Surrender and Chonsu, seasoned veteran players as well. It's just tough competition everywhere you look.
It is indeed. And then, of course, down in the relegation bracket, we will also be playing up Flurry versus Dawn tomorrow, which is going to be a heart-wrenching way to end the day. But I can't wait to see who's going to be through to the semi-finals to be joining both Possessi and Glory. But that, of course, means that we are all done here for today in Asia Pacific. Still Europe, as always, and then Americas to follow shortly after, where we're going to find out who their representatives are going to be going through to the semi-finals, and then thereafter on Sunday, who will be going through to the global finals for each of those regions. So I'm just going to sign off now, say thank you so much for joining us for today here in the Asia Pacific region. We will see you tomorrow, but for now, we're going to send you over to Raven and Sottle with Europe. Enjoy.